Okay, guys. Here we have the last but not the least speaker for today, Nebih Başaran, with the topic importance of live ops in launched games. Please, Nebih, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Alexander. Hey, everyone. Today, like Alexander mentioned, I'll talk about how to keep launched games in the top charts by by talking about the importance of live operations in the launched games. And during the session and after the session, I will take questions, so it will be kind of like a Q&A session during this stage as well. So any questions you come up with, you can pop it up. I'll share my slides now. So yeah, I'll talk about briefly myself and Garawell Games. As you may all know, as Garawell Games, we've launched two successful hits, Breach Race and Color Match. Breach Race launched in March 2021 and Color Match launched in November 2021. And as you may all know, Breach Race became the most downloaded hyper-casual game of 2021, which I will talk briefly in a sec. About Garawell, we are a team of 11 people based in Istanbul. We are working hybrid, mostly remote, and we were founded in January 2021 and had a little bit of 1.5 years of experience before that. And yeah, Breach Race and Color Match and some other soft launch games which haven't been as successful as Breach Race and Color Match. Talking about Breach Race, of course, the attention to topic will be on Breach Race because it's the game that we cover the live operations on mostly. It had around 220 million downloads worldwide in 2021, and it was the most downloaded game in 22 countries in overall top charts, and most downloaded game in 92 countries. And after 1.5 years, we are still, as of June, data has shown that it's still in top 4 most downloaded games in the last months. With Color Match, there were more than 60 million downloads worldwide in 2 months, and now if we calculate those downloads, it's got more than 60 million downloads worldwide, and it was a long-staying top chart game in US App Store, and as you can see, it was in 11 countries most downloaded overall overall app, and in 48 countries it was the most downloaded game. So talking about live operations, the reason that I brought this up as a presentation topic to you guys was because I believe that the success of Breach Race is related mostly with the ideation, of course, but apart from that, mainly related with the live operations that we handled during the last 1.5 years. So it's been 18 months since the launch in March 2021, and it was the most downloaded game in second quarter of that year, and most downloaded hyper casual game of 2021, as I mentioned. And after 1 year of production, it was still the 4th most downloaded game in June of this year and remains in top 10 of most downloaded game. So how did this happen? Like we're talking about goals here, and when we initially launched Breach Race, the idea was unique, and we knew it because we had tested a pretty closely related game a year before as well, and after that game we iterated on it, actually iterated a lot, and live operations actually took part from 2 years ago, I could say. But after the soft launch, what we initially aimed doing was to clean the game out of bugs. Like, that's a very simple goal, but if you take care of it, if you take serious care of it, the rest comes easier, because initially when you launch a game, it's very normal that you come up with a lot of bugs, and the performance of the game solely depends on doesn't solely depend on just the FPS or something related with the graphic cards, but it's actually little things that makes the player choose to go on playing or stop playing. And here, if we analyze all the games in the industry, especially in hyper casual, we see that even the launched games have some bugs that we recognize in a second. Like in 2 minutes of play, we can come up with some bugs that are happening in the game. So we actually took this seriously and actually made progress by testing it intensely and finding each and every bug that was in the game, even if we played hundreds or thousands of levels. Of course, this was the initial goal. And apart from that, we had other goals as well. Like we had to increase the playtime, increase the retention, and that meant increasing the LTV. And at the end of the day, we had to make a title that would be remembered. And that was the main goal. Like, as you may all know from Fort Minor song, it's 100% reason to remember the name. So in Breach Race, that was actually the case, because when we soft launched the game, we did not want this game to be a short stay game in the top chart. Like, we didn't want this game to fade away in 1 week or even in 1 month or even in 3 months. We said to ourselves, there are examples of them, as examples of long-term games. So the belief actually carved the road for us. That's all I can say. But again, the goals should be really precise. What you are aiming to do with this game. You are trying to increase the playtime. Okay. The details can be written down. If you're trying to increase the retention, the reasons and the goals for it can be branched. And overall, of course, our goal was to increase the LTV, because at the end of the day, a profitable game has more chance of staying in the top charts, and that's like 2 + 2 is 4. Like, you want to have a low CPI, which you found it in the beginning, so you should have a high LTV to balance it. And even the equation there is really simple. LTV minus CPI should always be greater than 0. So make it greater than 0 for as long as possible, then you will stay in the top charts as long as possible. That's the goal. And as I mentioned, that there was a 2-year process for this game to be iterated, and actual idea from this to this. So you can see how much effort might have gone into thinking about changing stuff, like from carving holes to placing empty bricks, or from collecting the balls by one other ball to collecting them and stacking them up. In this process, you can obviously understand that we should watch the trends carefully, and not only focusing on your game, but focusing on other games and how they're becoming successful is also important as well. I'm not talking about copycats here. Like, we all know that making a copy of one game will not make you successful at all, because at the end of the day, your goal is to make something unique. And it's true that there is some form of standardized way of making your game play sessions longer. And here we came up with ideas, of course, but we also watched the trends carefully and saw how the IAPs were being sold in the game, or how the game mechanism, how much time would the levels take place in different games. Because if you watch carefully, that there's a pattern in hyper casual games. Like, one level can only take from 45 seconds to 1.5 minutes, for example. Yeah, there's there's some differences between games, but there is a pattern. So we try to watch these patterns and make the game as optimized as possible. And the A/B tests are the biggest help when it comes to understanding what's better for your game. I gave you an initial and first A/B test results here about the playtime, but there have been at least 300 variants of A/B tests, maybe even more, for Bridge Race in 1.5 years of period. And that's a lot, we know, but we had to test these in order to make sure. Yes, you always come up with your ideas by trusting your gut and saying, okay, I believe this will be really attractive for players, but then you have to test it to see the results. There have been real exciting tests that we did, which didn't bring promising results because at the end of the day, we failed to understand the users' expectations, maybe. And here, I can say that A/B tests have helped us triple the LTV. When I mentioned that LTV was really important for long-term stay in the top chart, I want to also mention that from the beginning of soft launch to the end, we have tripled the LTV, and that's a success that we did by updating the game constantly and making A/B tests. So here we see that just changing the interstitials position, like advertisement position, that's just a simple idea where to place the advertisements. We can increase and uplift the playtime by 10%. And that's actually, if you think about it, that's actually very strange because when you actually let people watch more advertisements, you would expect playtime to drop. But in this variant, we actually make players watch more advertisements. And here, actually, the playtime increased. And we were actually kind of shocked to see that too, because we would expect people to play less when they see more advertisement. But you have to think about all the possibilities and test it in order to see the results. And the results showed us that this can be an uplift in playtime. So we go on and on with these kind of A/B tests. And coming back to Q&A, again, this is really important for live operations. It means live operations means constant testing after each and every update. And we have updated the game more than 100 times maybe. And after all these updates, we had to test the game in order to see if the updates had any effect on the performance or caused any bugs, which they did actually. If you update the game, you are exposed to many different bugs and performance issues as you change the code, you change the core of the game, and you need to test it before launch. And this part is really important because you don't want to scare your current users, who are going to be updating, and you don't want to let the new users see a buggy game or laggy game. We took it seriously and tested the game for thousands of sessions, and even sometimes we had to stand until 2 a.m. to figure out how to resolve a bug that we recently solved, even after launching the update, which we could not go back because of some App Store restrictions. Like, it would take time if we tried to send the previous version. So we had to take care of these bugs and release the game as soon as possible. So we took it really seriously. That's what I can say about this part. Of course, we found thousands of bugs that maybe only 1% of users could see. Some bugs were visible even from the first level. I can give you one example that from 30th of December, which is the day that many people play games, and as you can see in the top charts, the download numbers highly increased because it's a holiday. And we had this bug where the camera would not move with the player. That's a very actually simple bug that we didn't notice. I know that you are asking why we haven't tested it after launching, but there was a really strange stuff that happened, and we did not see this camera movement. Did not happen. So we had to fix this bug and send it immediately as an update. But we also know from the data that the download numbers crucially dropped down, and the LTV could only be replaced with the same LTV after 2 months. So we know that these kind of bugs should be taken seriously, should be taken care of seriously, and should be worked out. If they are not worked out, then they're going to cause you issues in the long run. So we did not want this to happen. Make the game playable on all devices. Apart from bugs, I talked enough about bugs, but it's not just the bugs that the performance is affected by. The performance depends on different devices as well. Not happening that much on iOS devices, as we know, because of the similarity between OSs, but in Android especially, we tried to make the game playable on all devices. That was the goal. That wasn't the goal in the beginning with the initial goals, but I can tell you we made this goal around the end of 2021, after the game became the most downloaded hyper casual game in that year. So we said to ourselves, we are doing some serious product here. We are dealing with some serious product here. So what's happening with all the other casual games or all the PC games? Yeah, not most, but if you're trying to reach a large audience, then you have to make it playable on all devices. So we took the performance update seriously, and with the recent update, I'm saying recent, but it was around January and February of this year, and we optimized the game in a way that made the size of the game half, like from around 250 megabytes maybe to 120 megabytes or something. And Bridge Race can now work on Android 6.0 devices as well, like very old devices, Note 5 or Note 6 I'm talking about. We know that for fact most of the hyper-casual games will not work on those devices because the optimization is not worked out that much. But we also think that it should be maybe done like we did after a long time of updates. Like, this is not the priority, but it should be after the long stay of the game in the top charts. And here we actually saw an uplift on Android devices, which doubled the download numbers, like from daily around 500,000 downloads to 1 million downloads after this update only. So we actually saw the result, and we're very happy because we spent 1 to 2 months around this update, and at the end of the day, we took the reward out of it. So overall, that's all I wanted to mention. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to respond. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was very interesting and exciting. I would like to ask the first question as a moderator because I can. It was a very interesting case regarding relocating the ads in the game. Do you can you provide some tips or formulate some rules how to locate ads better in games? What you learned out from this case?
Actually, that's a very hard question, to be fair, because we never cracked where to place the ads initially, because the ad placement is something that's like a medical operation. Players will either like the game or not like the game by just the placement of the ads. They will always write down the comments and give feedback related with the ads, and give bad ratings for the game, for instance. But in this case, what we tried to do was to go on and test all the variables in the A/B tests related with the ads. We said, let's place the advertisements in the beginning. Let's place it in the mid-level. Apart from the ones I've shown you in the sliders, there's in the presentation there are actually maybe 20 to 30 different cases that we tested the ads placements, and in all cases we did not know what the result would be from the beginning, because in all cases when we tested, the results came back very different from what we expected. Like, we all had ideas, of course, but at the end of the day, players chose a different way maybe. But I can just as a tip, as you mentioned, give a tip that the placement of ads should be homogeneous, meaning you should not wait long to give the ads to the player. It should be homogeneously distributed in the game, in my opinion, and that's actually as an end result what worked in Bridge Race case and Color Match, of course.
Interesting. Thank you. But still, testing is the key, right?
Of course, like A/B tests are lifesavers.
Cool. Thank you. What else? Of course, it's clear that you widened your audience with the optimization, covering a number of the devices, slower and weaker devices, which brought you more audience, lacking games in the store. But what else also influenced unexpectedly on the game performance and on KPIs?
That's a hard question again, but I'll try to respond. I will also mention that in the device performance issue, we actually, to be fair, did not care about the low-end devices that much in the beginning. And that's actually what any other hyper-casual developer would think, or any publisher would think as well. Like, we are in an industry where we aim to attract US App Store users, right? We do the test there. We try to attract those users. Why? Because we know that the most profitable ones are the ones who are in the US using iPhones, or in the West world. But with this update, we actually try to go down and make a huge user audience target for ourselves as well, which was not related only with the profits, right? Because if you think about profits, the high-end devices will give you more profit, and those users will spend more on the advertisements. But related with the other stuff that changed about the performance, I can tell you that sometimes lowering the quality in some devices work better than making the quality higher, which means the pixelated visuals, I don't know if it was attractive or the devices work better with them, but pixelated visuals sometimes work better in some Android device. We always test these differently on iOS, separately on iOS and Android, and the results are different as well. But we saw that lowering the quality may sometimes work. Of course, you are always working to make the game as polished as possible, but at the end of the day, you should test the quality difference, because at the end of the day, the FPS is reflecting, FPS is affected by this quality as well, and you sometimes have to lower it.
Very cool intake, absolutely and obvious. Thank you so much. We have the next question from Alex. How much has the AI improvement increased LTV?
That's a really good question, because we really wanted this game to feel like a multiplayer game from the beginning. That was one of the goals I didn't mention in the presentation, but we actually wanted the AI to feel like a real person. And there we had to optimize it in a way that the AI worked randomly, but also not too much clever. Like, we had to find a balance. First initial tests with the AI, we actually made the AI collect bricks that would actually be enough for passing the bridges. If you know the game, you should collect enough bricks to pass the bridges. But in the beginning, if you let the AI collect enough bricks to pass the bridges, then you will have we had an issue of difficulty. Like with a strong AI, people did not like it that much because we could not satisfy them in a positive way. And after that, we made the AI more stabilized by decreasing the amount of collectibles, the bricks, and they would go on and collect first batch, go onto the bridge, come back and collect more, and then bring them to the bridge again. And in that way, actually, players had more time to cross the bridge, and they were winning the levels easier. And this actually brought a real good result. And also, we removed the glass walls from the stage where you could actually push the AIs, and after pushing them, you would earn the bricks of that AI's color, which made a huge effect on the A/B test results as well. So actually, we really brought the performance up, brought the LTVs up with these AI improvements in the A/B tests.
Thank you so much. Seems like we're running out of time. Guys, you can catch Nebih in chat or in LinkedIn. You can check the profile on the Pine website. Please get in contact. I believe Nebih will openly share more answers, more knowledge, and probably do something together if you have a great idea. Thank you, Nebih, for coming and
With
discovering
pleasure.
really
Thank you,
amazing
Alexander.
data.
Thank you for inviting, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.